I am not saying that to say that trans women aren't women. I am just saying, you know what I mean?
Dave Chappelle being the comedian that he has made jokes that seem to have made Megan Rapinoe angry, since she is now accusing him of violence.
She comes out and says to Time magazine that in particular she's got a problem with Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle making jokes about trans people directly leads to violence.
But despite accusing Dave of violence, Megan has been accused of lying because people believe she hasn't provided any evidence of the violence that the comedian has allegedly engaged in.
How? Where? When? What specific instances? Because you're making that up. It's a bunch of
I think that it's important to first say the truth. She's lying.
So the question now is, what violence is Megan accusing Dave Chappelle of? Who has gotten hurt due to Dave Chappelle's jokes? Let us take a deep dive into the tea. For the legendary United States women's soccer player, comedian Dave Chappelle is partially to blame for violence against transgender people. She unleashed what some now call an unhinged take on comedy. Dave Chappelle and Sage Steele being responsible for problems transgender people might encounter.
She comes out and says to Time magazine that in particular she's got a problem with Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle making jokes about trans people directly leads to violence.
But she didn't stop there. Apparently, she thinks Dave Chappelle cracking jokes, as well as Sage Steele and tennis legend Martina Navratilova claiming that trans women are dominating women's sports, leads to problems for the trans community. In a wide-ranging feature for Time magazine prior to the Women's World Cup, Rapinoe said she had a problem with Dave Chappelle, Martina Navratilova, and Sage Steele for their opposition to transgender women playing in women's sports. I don't want to mince words about it, Rapinoe said. Dave Chappelle making jokes about trans people directly leads to violence, whether it's verbal or otherwise, against trans people. She continued saying, when Martina or Sage or whoever are talking about this, people aren't hearing it just in the context of elite sports. They're saying, the rest of my life, this is how I'm going to treat trans people. Yes, you heard that correctly. So according to Megan, Dave Chappelle is the reason trans people have issues. Does this mean that if it wasn't for Dave Chappelle cracking these jokes, it'd be sunshine and roses for trans people? Moving further, Rapinoe continued to take issue with policies targeting transgender athletes. It's particularly frustrating when women's sports are weaponized, she said. Oh, now we care about fairness? Now we care about women's sports? That's total and show me all the trans people who are nefariously taking advantage of being trans in sports. It's just not happening. Her comments sparked a debate online on whether she was thinking of joining politics now that her football reign is coming to an end. And this rumors escalated when she also said she would have no problem accepting a transgender woman on her team, rejecting Navratilova's argument. Navratilova had recently praised a decision by World Athletics banning trans women from competing as women in international track and field competitions, but said in a recent opinion piece the decision didn't go far enough. In the wake of World Athletics' announcement, I think the best idea would be to have biological female and biological girls categories and then an open category, Navratilova wrote in the Times of London, advancing her belief that trans women are taking the spot of biological women in these sporting events. She said it would be a category for all comers, cisgender men, cisgender women, transgender men, transgender women, and non-binary people. It would be a catch-all, adding that this was already being explored in athletics and swimming in Britain. Rapinoe rejected Navratilova's arguments, claiming that to her, having people with biologically different capabilities playing separately was transphobic. You're taking a real woman's place. That's the part of the argument that's still extremely transphobic, Rapinoe told Time. I see trans women as real women. What you're saying automatically in the argument, you're sort of telling on yourself already, is you don't believe these people are women. Therefore, they're taking the other spot. I don't feel that way. Now the public is questioning if she came to her stance because she was no longer going to be playing soccer, and the remaining women are the ones going to have to go up against biologically stronger opponents.
Some people have pointed out that this does come as she is retiring, and therefore not in a position where she herself will have to compete against these males.
Rapinoe announced in a press conference last week that she plans to retire at the end of the 2023 season. She has been a fixture on the U.S. women's soccer team since she joined it in 2006. I could have just never imagined where this beautiful game would have taken me, Rapinoe told the New York Times. I feel so honored to have represented this country, this federation for so many years. The outspoken leader of women's soccer in the U.S. is likely to take on a lesser role on the field this time, serving as a veteran mentor to younger players. Rapinoe's comments come after Chappelle released his Netflix special, The Closer, in October 2021, where he spoke out about transgender issues in his Netflix special, The Closer, and came to the defense of J.K. Rowling, who has been accused of being transphobic.
The only reason I ever been mad at the transgender community is because I was at a club in LA and danced with one of these for 6 songs straight. I had no idea. And we ended up having breakfast together.
In the special, Chappelle made a number of jokes about transgender people, including one joke in which he said that he was Team TORF, referring to trans-exclusionary radical feminists. His comments sparked a backlash from transgender activists and allies who accused him of being transphobic, and this made Netflix employees to stage a walkout in protest of the special. And the company eventually removed a disclaimer from the special that had said that Chappelle's jokes were not to be taken seriously. Rapinoe was one of the most high-profile athletes to speak out against Chappelle's comments, and her comments have been met with mixed reactions. Some people have praised her for speaking out, while others have accused her of trying to censor Chappelle. Furthermore, some are claiming that she should have some sort of evidence of the violence that was inflicted and the person who was affected. For many of these people, if you're going to accuse Dave Chappelle's comedy of causing violence against trans people, you better have some airtight examples. Megan Rapinoe is straight up accusing Dave Chappelle of causing violence against trans people. What violence? So the question people are asking is, who has Dave Chappelle gotten hurt? What joke specifically resulted in a violent attack against a trans person? Among the most prominent voices against Megan Rapinoe's words is that of Megyn Kelly, who has accused Megan of being irresponsible.
It's not true, and it's something activists like Megan Rapinoe use to try to silence dissenting voices, and it's really irresponsible.
Apparently, Megan believes that Megan Rapinoe believes words carry more meaning than actions. And for Megan, that's a classic tactic for people who want to silence those they don't like. Dave Chappelle himself has said that he actually does love trans people and that he respects them, since whatever he says on stage is just comedy and should be taken as such. He said, "Oh, I'm jealous. I'm not the only black person that feels this way. We look at the gay community. We go, God damn it. Look at how well that movement is going. Look at how well you are doing." And we've been trapped in this predicament for hundreds of years. How the FK are you making that kind of progress? However, Chappelle goes on to claim there's a big difference between the old-school gangsta gays, who fought for change during the Stonewall era, and the younger ones who he feels are too sensitive. I'm not that fond of these newer gays. Too sensitive, too brittle. Those aren't the gays I grew up with. They fought for their freedom. I respect that. While Megan was accusing Dave Chappelle of violence, O.J. Simpson, a former NFL running back, took issue with comments she made where she said that she sees transgender athletes as real women and would have no problem being on the same team as a transgender woman. Simpson disagreed with her, saying that transgender athletes have an unfair advantage in women's sports, adding that Rapinoe's comments were disrespectful to biological women. He posted on Twitter saying, "I saw Megan Rapinoe said that she would love to be competing against transgender women, and look, I'm all for it. Why don't they treat it, especially in track and field, like a marathon and everybody can compete, but when it's over, have a category for female, a category for male, and a category for transgender people?" Well, Megan might have accused Dave of violence over jokes he made for entertainment, but she has yet to provide the evidence, so until she does, comedy will remain comedy. A fan on X, formerly Twitter, said, Megan Rapinoe says Dave Chappelle's jokes about trans people directly lead to violence. What happened to the concept of being able to laugh at yourself? Another added, Megan Rapinoe thinks Dave Chappelle, Comedy, and Sage Steele are responsible for trans violence, yet she couldn't provide a single example to back up her insane claim. Rapinoe is a moron. At Outkick, we will always defend comedy and the truth. So what's your take on the Dave Chappelle and Megan Rapinoe situation? Tell us in the comment section. Remember, this video is based on speculation and opinions, and if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more exciting updates. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!